Hey kids, welcome to the Kapitol Life podcast. I am your host, Abby Pagud. This is where we talk about all the things that life brings, the good, the bad, and of course, the healthy. And today we have another episode of Keeping It Real with Real People, and my awesomely special guest is Miss Georgia Day. Welcome to the Kapitol Life, Miss Georgia.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here, Abby.
It's so good to have you here. I'm very excited to just not only have you fit so perfectly to the theme of the month, but also just because of your expertise. You are a business owner of Comma LLC, Comma Mama. How do I say it?
Kamama. Like
Kamama.
mama with a K-A in front of it. Kamama.
Okay, Kamama. That's so it just flows right through. It's just when you see it, I kind of have one of those minutes like, oh gosh, how do I pronounce that? And then when you say it so beautifully, it's like Kamama. Like it's super easy. And then on top of it, you are a LinkedIn profile strategist. You're also a speaker and an author. So how wicked cool is this? Like you've pretty much done everything you can to check everything off of awesomeness off of your list. So that's even better. This episode of The Kapitol Life is brought to you by ProNail Roofing and Solar. Protecting your home is their business. Since 2012, ProNail Roofing and Solar has helped their customers and improved the community by providing energy-efficient roofing solutions to their clients' homes, including my own. They strive to deliver the best residential roofing services to every home, specializing in residential roof repair, basic renovation services, and solar roof projects that provide clean and sustainable energy in the brutal Texas summers and surprisingly cold winter months. Go to pronailroofing.com. They do the right thing when no one is watching. Before we dive in, did you guys know that we have gift cards for your loved ones? At Kapitol Health, we pride ourselves in taking care of our people and figured you should too. But sometimes it's a little awkward purchasing that special someone an exercise program to help them tone up their muffin top, or giving them a nutrition consultation to help them get their eating under control. No need to stress. Let the Kapitol Health gift card handle that for you and let your special someone choose what they need for their health and wellness needs. Please like, share, and rate us on whatever platform you're listening. It's how we start to really spread the message of good in the world that needs it so much right now. If you find this helpful or insightful, don't forget to connect with us on Facebook and YouTube at Kapitol Health. That's Kapitol Health. Also, visit us at kapitolhealth.com and subscribe to our newsletter and get wicked awesome updates. Well, today's episode is called Miracle. And so I thought we need to get more miracleistic, especially in our world today where there's a lot of harping down on the nitty gritty of the things we can't control, right? And so a lot of people are in that desperation mode to try and stranglehold what they can and can't handle, but more focused on, they seem hyperfixated on things that they really can't control. And then they end up getting really upset about it. And so one of the things I did for the theme of the month this month is really focusing on communication when it comes to connection to our community through our life itself, right? So it's about the life phases that we experiences, how we grow and change and evolve within those life experiences. And it's such a long journey. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I didn't really think about 10, 20, 5, 10, maybe not even 2-3 years in advance, other than the expected where are you going to school discussion. That wasn't really a thing in my generation. It wasn't thinking about the long haul. What was it like for you growing up?
It was a combination of things. I started out on the Gulf Coast in Texas, outside of Houston. And so I was used to everything water related at that point. Then my father, God love him, had a midlife crisis and decided we needed to move to Louisiana, and not just to Louisiana, to southern Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
And having been a financial wizard, having his own company, he became a farmer. And to make a long story short, he loved it, but we had hurricanes all 4 years we were there.
Oh my God.
So then I have to really give my parents credit after that, we moved back to Texas, to Austin, and they both started brand new careers in their 40s. He became a realtor, and my mother became an interior designer. So during my teenage years, they were in flux of learning a whole new industry and doing things differently. And I had gone from a casual atmosphere to a really unusual atmosphere in southern Louisiana to Austin, which was a bigger town, obviously, than the one I'd been in. So then I hit 20. So are you ready for me to talk a little bit about what happened then?
Yes. Well, I mean, absolutely. Because what I find so fascinating is that your parents had the gumption to be able to restart or reassess or reevaluate where they were in their midlife and really put into a system of checks and balances of what they were wanting for what's to come forward. And sometimes when you make decisions like that, you make decisions like that because you know a change is needed, but you don't actually know how it's going to profoundly affect yourself individually, or if it's going to even work, on top of definitely what the ripple effect is going to be for the family going forward. And clearly you got taken along for the ride in every single direction. It was just like, oh, here's Georgia. Like, let's just move her around. So what
Absolutely.
happened? So what happened when you hit 20 and it's time for you to go through your adult discovery?
Well, the first thing that happened was I was not ready for college. I went to college, but I was absolutely emotionally, totally immature, not ready. Intellectually,
Okay.
I could handle it, but not emotionally. So I didn't stay very long. Moved to Dallas, got married, and absolutely had no life skills whatsoever. I'm telling the truth here. So I really didn't
Yeah,
know what to
I encourage
expect.
that.
But out of that first marriage came our two beautiful daughters,
Okay.
and then divorced. And then I found someone I had known professionally for many, many years, had no idea that he was in process of a divorce. We got together, got married, and we've been married over 40 years now.
How
So the girls
interesting.
got to have, our daughters got to have the advantage of having really two fathers, if you will. And with my husband now, Michael's
Mhm.
influence, they really had an incredible life and work ethic designed for them. You know,
That's
kids don't
incredible.
pay attention to things like that at that age, certainly, but it was there for them. And as adults, I have seen how much this has impacted both of them.
That's
So
incredible.
my husband and I were in public utilities for almost 30 years. I had been in private industry before that and then went to public utilities. And we had been RVing part time as a stress reliever. We'd leave, we had a 25-foot Airstream travel trailer that we were able to back into our garage area. And we were in Dallas. And so we'd get out of town on the weekends and just completely get away. Well, that morphed into what if we decided we want to do this full time? So we began planning a 5-year plan to retirement, and we did
And how
retire.
old were you at this time?
Early 50s, early
Okay.
50s. Yeah, when we retired, and we got a larger Airstream travel trailer, and we picked up an Irish Wolfhound puppy to travel with us. Now they are the largest breed of dog, tallest. So off we
You
went.
know, just tote them around. It's fine.
Oh, well, and one of the things that happened during that time, one of the wonderful legacies my mother left is that she was a health fanatic, health food particularly.
Mhm.
And so I had grown up with fruits and vegetables, and I didn't learn how to fry foods until I left home. Had no idea how to fry. Someone
Wow.
had to teach me how to fry foods. But while we were on the road, I was able to, even with limited refrigerator space, I was able to continue the healthier lifestyle. And my husband and I wound up with a group doing seminars all over the country with rallies. So I did cooking seminars and organization seminars for RVing because I had to learn how to go from 2,800 square feet to 280 in a short period of time.
Right. And I'm sure
So
that was an adjustment because when your dad moved you over to farmland and then it was, hey, I can roam free and do all the things. And it's a very different space living quarters.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so that also was probably a very massive, like, just you've gotten to be able to experience all these different type of ways of doing, which has been kind of neat because even being subjected to that as a kid, it gave you a taste of what you really enjoyed. And you could actually go back and say, oh no, I've actually enjoyed this part of that part, but I don't want to incorporate it now, or I've outgrown it. Or actually the only thing is we can do that as long as XYZ is not a part of the game, because that I think that's where you really fine tune what some of your preferences are. But I think that so much of us, especially when we're approaching our 20s, it's not all there yet. Like we're kind of just going with passion and emotion and hormones and oh, this is good vibes. I like this. And we don't actually think to the next step. And then all of a sudden you kind of just go one step in front of the other. And then you kind of look back and you're like, oh, okay. And sometimes the dots connect and make perfect sense. And it perfectly align. That's one of the things I really enjoy is looking back from where you've come and seeing how the God kind of connected the dots for you. And you didn't even see it until after you actually went through it. And now you get those aha moments of, oh, okay, now I get why that happened. That makes sense. I was getting primed for the next step, or I was getting primed so I could have the strength and the courage and notion to go through in this direction. But you got to experience so many different living environments. This is really fun to explore. How, from when after you divorced and met your husband, that's your husband now, who's been with you for 40 years, and which is tremendous. My husband and I have been together for 20 years. We've been married for 15, been together for 20 years. And I don't know how where the time went. And I look at that as a gift, because it's not like, oh, I've been with your ass for 20 years. It's like, really? It's been that long already? Like that. I think that's a better sign of marriage, is that it went by fast, not like ones that are like, yeah, it's been 20 years. Because that would be, but for you, 40 years, that's incredible that you guys have been able to do that. When you guys decided to start doing the RV, what was some of the very definitive choices of like, we have to do this. This is part of what we've been wanting to do. Like, why did it become let's just drop everything and just go?
Unbeknownst to me, my husband is quite the gypsy, because we were both committed and in very set jobs. I didn't get to know that about him until we hit the road. I'll give you an example.
And how old was he?
Let's see. He was early 50s. Yeah, we were early 50s when we started this full time. Yeah.
Yeah. Learning new things about each other.
Oh, yes. Well, we'd been married almost 40 years before I found out quite by accident that he doesn't like potato chips. It had never come up before. I'd never had them in the house except to use on tuna casseroles. I mean,
Do you know what I just found out yesterday? And we've been together for 20 years. And I looked over at him because I've noticed my husband is 5'4", and he's 5'4", I'm 5 foot. We are just short people. That's how we run in here. We've got a Great Dane. We're short people. It's just the thing. And so it was so funny because I've always noticed that his socks never fit right. They're always a little bit big. They look like they would annoy the crap out of me. Like, I know I would be so hyper irritated with it. And I looked at him the other day and said, honey, you know how you always have like the top of your sock flaps, is that annoying? Like, why do you wear your socks that way? And he's like, and he looked at me and he said, honey, don't you find it interesting that they always have socks listed from 6 to 12, size 6 to 12? And I said, yeah, I've always thought that was mundane and ridiculous. And he goes, well, this is what you get. And then I felt mortified that all this time, like the type of sock I was buying was from when we started dating. I was just replacing like what he had beforehand, where I've updated my socks. I've made attempts to update his, but I was always nervous because he's a particular sort. And then next thing you know, he's like, no, I love socks that would fit me properly. 20 years of just bad socks, and he never said a freaking thing. How do you do? I mean, no offense, like that warrants some marital therapy. Like I'm just saying.
Oh goodness. Well,
But
one of the
potato
things,
chips, he does not like potato chips.
yeah, potato
Yeah,
chips.
he's on my shit list now because that's my favorite.
Well, he's a Fritos kind of guy.
Okay, he's a Frito, like pork rinds also,
No,
or
well,
just
yeah, he does
Fritos?
like he does. I know he likes pork rinds. I won't touch them.
Okay, understood. Okay.
So in the midst of all of this, I he's an engineer. We had two computers. Now, this is long before smartphones and that sort of thing. So
Mhm,
we had a Motosat satellite dish on top of our trailer so that we could communicate. To give you an idea of how rustic things were when we first started, we'd drive up to an RV park, go to the office. But to check email, you know how large computers were back in 2000? He had to carry the computer into the office, hook it up, and pay $5 for 5 minutes worth of email.
oh my
I
gosh.
I know that just sounds unbelievable, but trust me, it really did happen.
Oh gosh,
So,
that is not, to me, caring there was already past the $5 mark.
yeah,
That's
but, you
incredible.
know, we got to see parts of the country. You asked where we started. We actually started out moving west, and his parents were in Newport Beach, California at that time, so
Okay.
we spent quite a bit of time out in Southern California and loved it. It was
Yeah.
wonderful. And we were just getting ready. We were to the point of heading. We had seen everything west of the Mississippi. We were getting ready to head east, and his father became ill. So we had to completely revamp our plans. And
Okay.
so we did what we needed to do there. And in 2009, we decided it was, we had a new grandbaby at that time who was in
Fun.
Austin, and we decided, well, I think we need to do something about this. So we moved back to Austin, and after a year, found a house. So we've been in a stick house ever
Yes,
since.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
Well, and
but
the nice thing is you got to go have your time to venture and explore before kind of getting called back into the next phase of
yes,
grandparenting,
yeah,
which you
absolutely.
know, it's interesting because like as you reflect back over life and all the phases that we go through, it's like there's so much that changes, not just with our preferences, how we respond to um exercise, how we respond to food, even, like some of our health concerns that come up for us or even with family members. But we go through a lot of growth, even, as we become mothers. That's a huge learning curve of learning about yourself as a mother. Like, what does that look like? What does it feel like? How am I able to, what are my expectations for myself as a mother, and what are my expectations for my children? And then sometimes they've got expectations for you on what a parent looks like, and some of those you don't like, and others you actually have to adapt. And it just, depending on how much you want to actually blossom the relationship. But then it's like, as the kids start growing up and becoming more self-sufficient, you get to kind of get some of your freedoms back. And it's like, it's not about the kids all the time. It's like, what do I do when the kids leave? And I have a lot of clients, in just children of all ages. And some of them, I was really concerned on what was going to happen with them when their child, you know, when the birds flew the coop, what was going to happen to them, because they did not seem to have a plan in any way, shape, or form. It was, oh, okay, they'll be gone. Oh, okay. And it was, oh no, sweetheart. Like, you've been putting so much time investing into your children, which is beautiful. But then now it was a very large having to learn who they were again.
Before we dive in, did you guys know that we have gift cards for your loved ones? At Capitol Health, we pride ourselves in taking care of our people and figured you should too. But sometimes it's a little awkward purchasing that special someone an exercise program to help them tone up their muffin top, or giving them a nutrition consultation to help them get their eating under control. No need to stress. Let the Capitol Health gift card handle that for you and let your special someone choose what they need for their health and wellness needs.
We end up going through all of these different phases and we learn so much about what we can handle, what we can't handle. But it also, what is really interesting is I get to the point of starting to think about what's next. Like when the kids are grown, because ours are 26, 16, and 8. And so we still have one of the, they're all separated. They're all so we didn't really give ourselves a lot of getting into luxury and enjoying our time after they leave the nest, because it's kind of like the oldest one could come back and we could turn into grandparents before the last is even out the door, so, and we don't know the timing of that because it's not our life. He seems a little bit more of a late bloomer. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to always pan out with him. But, at the same time, it's like my children are very separated. But then I really am starting to paying attention of, okay, I'm a caregiver to my mother. How do I want that to look like for her in her experience as she's phasing out? And, what does that look like for our life in those decisions, being there for her, and so on and so forth. And then even I've had conversations even with my daughter where, she wants her dad. She wants to take care of her dad when we are aging. She does not want me. And I just kindly pointed out to her that we're kind of a package deal. Like it's kind of like the finger trap, you got both of them and you're kind of stuck. I don't want you. So I'm going to see what happens with that one. She's trying to pawn me off to her younger brother, which then we kind of had like a dream. My husband and I had like a dream shared memory of where we decided, okay, if his house backs into her house, then we can meet in the back and like have like our own shack in the back. And then that way they'll leave us alone and we can still have our independent freedom. So we're already trying to escape routes for like senior citizen homes.
Well, Abby, I lost my parents in my early 40s. And
sorry to hear that.
You don't ever want them to suffer. You want them to live their very best life as long as they can. And then we lost Michael's mom and dad. Let's see, 2004 and 2010. So at that point, we were out of the aging parents. At that point, many young women are in the sandwich generation.
Yeah.
And it's really, really tough. Fortunately for us, my sister was able to help with our parents. And I was just there. We were on the road. And so I was there part-time as I could be to help. So when it came to Michael's parents, we were both, fortunately, my business was virtual and I could work from anywhere. So we were both available to help with both of his parents. So that was a good thing for us to be able to do. Was it easy? No. It wasn't, but we were able to do that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I love that you use the term sandwich generation, because I use that term regularly because I've been part of the sandwich generation for 16 years now. And it's a lot of, so I almost have to explain what that is to are much older than I am. Like some people don't actually know what that is. And it's a really important part of your life of when you are dealing with the children and dealing with the parents at the same time, and you are squished in the middle like a sandwich. And there's so many things to factor in because you have to play out what does this look like? How do I want to show up for my parent, but also where are my kids? What stages are they in? What kind of commitments do I still have to have? You know, where when they're adults, I love being a parent to adult children. Like it's one of my favorite roles of parenting. My second favorite role is when they're itty bitty, not baby itty bitty, like toddler, like 2 and 3, like 2, 3 and 4 are the terrible 2s, terrible 3s. And it's really not. It's not like it's one of the biggest self-exploration, self-discovery, self-learning, and figuring out communication and how to communicate. And when you can take the time to go through it with them, the child grows and blooms so quickly, and it's just so fun to witness. My husband and I are very big fans of that age group, which apparently is not a common popular time to love the parenting phase, but you know that, yeah. But I'm loving the adult years, and my daughter, she's been she's hitting that 16, like she just hit 16, and so we're in that new phase for her. And you know, sometimes she likes to try and push and test the waters, but nowhere near like her older brother, like not even close. But I think she does that because she's a little bit more of a strategist, where she actually has witnessed enough of the behavior of her older brother to know, yeah, let's not. There's a better way to prime mom and dad so I can get all the things that I want. Like
I wish I had been that smart.
I did too. Like where the little guy, he's the baby, and he's kind of the poor thing. I mean, he just gets to just run and explore and do all the things. But I am really looking forward to the next phase because I've learned so much about myself, especially in the last couple years. There's so much awakening that happens, I think, around that midlife, 40 years old, 40 to 50 time period. You know, my husband, watching him from 40 to 50, because he's 10 years older than I, that was definitely a different eye-opening for him, you know. And, you know, men, it's a little bit different for men than it is for women. Cause you know, if we're still in child rearing years, you know, he kind of just waited and said, okay, are we still having kids? Just let me know when we're finished. Like, you know, and when I finally got to the point of saying, okay, when our son hit 3 years old, we were going to decide right then and there, like what was legit. Like are we going for another one or are we not? And I just looked at it and was like, yeah, I think I'm done. Like I'm totally content. I'm happy with what we have, and there's nothing that feels missing. So like I feel content. I'm not in a push for another one unless we really want to go crazy. And he's just like, oh, thank God. Like, and then I looked at him, was like, wait, what? And he's like, oh no, honey, I'll totally have another one with you if you want, but I'm freaking old. Like, so he was like, he's like, I'm 10 years older. So that put him at, I think this was like 5 years ago. So he was like 45, and he was like, no, this isn't going to be a thing. And so now it's funny because I find him still stuck in like some of our now, where my mind jumps to what's next. And then I'm trying to get him to start planning when the kids are out of the house, when we become grandparents, like what kind of grandparents do we want to be? What kind of involvement does that look like? What shape are we going to be in so that we can do the things that we want to do in our grandparent years? So, I mean, and I think that's a really big, a big thing that a lot of, we have to talk about openly with not just our client base, but also just with people in all, because what happens when, God forbid, something happened to one of your children and then you're inheriting grandbabies and you have to raise them in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? Like you never know what's coming. And it's kind of like, why don't you, instead of making choices that end up choosing for you what you can and cannot do, why don't you make choices that give you more opportunity to explore and give you more options, right?
Absolutely. Well, that takes me back to age 40 when I hadn't been married very long to Michael, and all of a sudden I said, "What have I done with my life?" Well, I knew I had beautiful daughters, a wonderful husband, a great job, but there was something very essential missing for me. I had not completed my undergraduate degree,
Mm,
and for a lot of different reasons. So God loved my husband. We were both working full time with two daughters, and we worked out schedules. And I went back to school 4 years, 4 nights a week, so that I could graduate. And it
that's
it made a
awesome.
huge career difference for me. I knew that I was stuck had I not gotten that piece of paper, if you will. But there was so much that came with the whole experience, college experience, even though a night student, obviously.
Hmm.
It was one of, and I really have to give him credit because he jumped in and took over so many things around the house in his copious spare time, working 60 to 80 hours a week.
Yeah,
But
that's impressive.
it was just really wonderful. And the turning 40, I think, can be a wonderful turning point and a chapter turner for women in particular. eh, But it may catch them by surprise, as it did me. I really
Yeah.
didn't think I was going to be where I wound up, but I'm so glad it worked out that way.
Did you have a similar transformation in like 50s, 60s at all? Did you have a
Yes,
similar?
every
Because
every
I've started
decade.
to notice a pattern trend. Like I do notice the decade shift from, obviously, 10, 20, 30, and definitely into 40, but I feel like 40, 50, 60, 70, like they're big. Is it just me, or that the
No.
older you get, the decade shift gets more explosive?
Yeah, it does. You are correct.
Before we dive in, did you guys know that we have gift cards for your loved ones? At Capitol Health, we pride ourselves in taking care of our people and figured you should too. But sometimes it's a little awkward purchasing that special someone an exercise program to help them tone up their muffin top, or giving them a nutrition consultation to help them get their eating under control. No need to stress. Let the Capitol Health gift card handle that for you and let your special someone choose what they need for their health and wellness needs.
It
Okay,
does.
because I've been noticing this pattern and I've been thinking about it, and then I've run it past my mom, but she hasn't really confirmed or denied. Like, so so I'm glad Georgia says this is how it is. This is how it is. So like we're done. Like that's the conversation. But like, what were some of the massive lessons shifts for you into 50? I mean, like my 40s has been really about self-love awareness, actually. Like for me, it's been about self-worth, self-love, and actually really paying attention to the things I enjoy and would want to do versus the things I've done because I've just done them being a caring individual, but may not have really noticed, do I really want to spend my time doing this? Right. Like, so it's like cutting the excess that really doesn't need to be there, and really actually getting connected to what makes me happy, provides joy and self-fulfillment from within, but also keeps me on my purpose and growing at the same time. But 50, what did 50 bring for you?
Well, actually, at that point, we were just at the point where the girls were getting ready to be out of the house. And what
Okay.
I didn't anticipate, neither one of us did, we knew one was going to go straight to college from high school and the other one was going to keep working or go to school. They both left within a month of each other. And all of a sudden, I
Oh,
walk in
wow.
the door and the house is totally silent. For a year, every time I went shopping and someone said, "Mom," I turned my head. I just, yeah, that I
Isn't
was
that the
not
truth?
prepared for. But it was the best thing that ever could have happened to either one of them. Our oldest moved to Baton Rouge and began to really grow into her adult self. She really needed that
That's
transition.
incredible.
And with both the girls, I have found that, believe it or not, there were some things I did. I'm not, never have been, never will be a perfect mom, but at least there are some
None of
things I
us
can
are.
see.
It's always our fault.
Yeah, you got it. But at least I can tell with both of them the most important integral parts of their personality and their lives are healthy, and they are strong women capable of doing anything they want to do. So I have to
Incredible.
say, I'm proud that my husband and I had some part in making that happen.
Yeah. It's interesting because I get feedback from my daughter, especially the ones that watch her now that, she's working to afford the vehicle that she wanted and which we do a whole buy-in type of thing where you can have any vehicle as long as you pay for half and then we'll cover the other. So that it's kind of a shared responsibility, but at the same time, it's like we're selecting a vehicle that's of your work effort. And like, hey, you're going to be stepping into that car when you're 16, then you have to plan ahead. And then it's also, you have your responsibility with insurance and gas and those types of things, so that at least she's taking on the responsibilities of, these are the bills of what humans go through. These are life costs. I need to be able to have at least an idea of what to prepare for as I leave the home and what that looks like and how to manage that. And so I've had, a lot of clients, even hearing from, her bosses or friends that she works with. And usually they forget that she's the age that she is, because she is so showing that maturity level. And, there are many times where something happens or I hear her say something and it's so accurate in truth. And she's clearly understood it when no adult in the room has gotten it yet. And, and I kind of look at her just in a state of shock, just in it. And I don't get filled with pride because I think I had nothing to do with it. Like I'm more of like, holy shit, where did that come from? I'm telling my friend, I'm like, dude, did you hear what she just said? And he's like, yeah. Like I kind of see some of the similarity. I'm like, yeah, I don't get it. Like, I don't think I taught her that. I think she just picked it up, so it's like some things I do believe are responsible for, influential, but then some things is just, that's how they're made. That's like the awesomeness that God created within them. And sometimes we're just a witness to their wicked, awesome expansion. And it's so beautiful. But it is very interesting because every single kid's different. Like, so you can raise two kids exactly the same rules, everything, and they are complete opposites. And how they process is different, how they learn, how they decide to engage, communicate, everything is different. So it's really like, okay, you can have the fundamental rules for everyone, in-house rules, but then when it comes to each child, you really have to gear it towards them, because each one of them is so completely different that you never really know what's going to get. And you also don't know yet what they like about you and what they hate about you, especially when it comes to your parenting. And then we got those fun conversations in the later years, but they work themselves out in time. So as long as they still want to be around you.
Absolutely. Well, we have a 16-year-old grandson, and our daughter in Baton Rouge and her husband have been fostering a baby since he was 4 days old, and he's now 18
Wow.
months old and hoping to adopt soon.
Oh,
But this was
nice.
all new for me because I had girls. I didn't have boys. And this,
Yeah.
I mean, having one that's almost grown and then getting the opportunity to be with a baby again after all these years, it's a hoot. It's wonderful. We just love it. But fortunately, my husband understands the way this baby thinks a lot better than I do.
You know what? There is a very distinct difference between boys and girls, like very distinct difference, especially in the early years. And so, and I don't care what you say, like about some of the new stuff that's coming up. There is such a distinct difference. Like even with my son's soccer team, like when that testosterone starts, that kicks in early. Like we're talking, they're 4 or 5 years old. and you could be jumping in, tearing two kids apart, and just because they were playing a game of soccer, and it just got heat. I mean, their boy brains they're already climbing walls, where the little girls sit there, you color, you go get them some cookies out of the oven, you turn around, they're still coloring. The boys, they went and they climbed the tree outside, and they might have set the cat on fire. Like, you just don't, like, you don't know where it happened. Like, so it's almost like boys are almost a two-man job when it comes to surveillance. Because someone, and you do not, it's almost like you don't want to go into the kitchen and leave your husband, because if they look at their phone, they look up and they're like, well, he was just here. Where could he be? Like,
yes, we've had that experience.
yes. And then you don't know what you tell anybody, because you're like, oh, we got it under wraps. It's okay. Like, don't say anything. Just don't. It's okay. Well, going back to the baby years, I think it's really interesting. Like, you were born premature. You were born 3 months early, which is significant. Like, this would put you at what, 24, 26 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, for the listeners that aren't even aware of gestation and where the baby grows and what state they grow up, 24 weeks is actually the marker today of make or break. Basically, 24 weeks is we have enough science, we have enough technology, we have enough where if a baby was born at 24 weeks, we have a higher percentage of saving them than if it were back in the day when we did not have the tools that we do. And so 24 weeks is really that solidifier of, if you were going to bring a child into this world, the percentage of them making it, that 24 marker is like to me has always been like that security marker. And then even more so is when you jump ahead to some of the brain development, heart development, lung development, all of those things going forward into gestation. When you're hitting the week 34, that is when the lungs are solidifying. So week 34 to 35 is when lung capacity and capability are like at their, once you get past that, it's like, okay, cool. When the baby pops out, they'll be able to breathe on their own. If they're usually born in that time period, there might be some incubation period, even for like a week, because they didn't cook enough and they didn't get to the full growth capacity of which the lungs needed to be able to breathe on their own. But you decided to just pop out just willy-nilly because Georgia was coming, whether anybody was ready or not. And you're just like, hello world, come get me and let's go. And how in the world, what did they do? Because what year was this? They didn't have the technology that they do today to deal with babies to this level.
Well, it's my understanding from talking to a gynecologist a number of years ago who was more familiar with this time frame. She said the only tool they had was to give you more and more oxygen, which apparently is what they did. So what I have to tell you is that God decided I was going to stay here because babies at that point in that condition didn't live. Right. So I did have lung issues when I was growing up, quite a few. Finally grew out of a lot of it. And the most significant thing I learned as a young adult, two things. No one knew when I was growing up. The one other than lungs, bizarre thing that I had as a result of being so premature is that I cannot stand any heat in my hands. I put a hot pad under a plate to serve it. I've just learned to work around it. It's a very rare kind of thing, but you just do what you need to do. And my husband's very good about the very hot things, getting them out for me because I just can't do it.
If you were to like take a mug with some hot tea in it, would that also be something that would irritate you? And
if it's too hot, if you've microwaved it, yes.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
I will not do that. when I stay with you in Austin, I will not hand you like some pre-fresh heated up tea.
Yep. That's what God made handles for.
There you go.
I learned as a young adult, I had a wonderful doctor who taught me something I needed to know with the lung issues. If I even begin to have a cough or any kind of significant problem, long before there's fever or anything else, I head straight to the doctor and get on an antibiotic. Because
Okay.
if the infection reaches my bronchial tubes, I'm in trouble.
Right.
So I've learned over time that's the way I fix it.
Yeah,
So
and there's a lot of people that I know as friends and in my client base where, you know, they've had to deal with asthma for years, or their family is, you know, more high risk to pneumonia, and so it's like they will, if they get a cold, that cold sometimes turns into bronchitis within 3 to 5 days, and then within 24 hours it could have jumped to pneumonia. Like it went that fast, when usually you have a good 2-3 week period before it could hit into that bronchitis, and then bronchitis can take it into pneumonia like another week or two or so. Like it just depends on the progression. But when you have lung issues, you have to take care of your body. And you ended up having to get that as a wee one, to learn how to do that. And thankfully, you know, as you grew and got stronger, then your body also kind of grew out of having some of those intense difficulties. What are some of the other health changes that you had to incorporate via self-care or nutrition, exercise type of things as through the phases of life?
I will say that I have not been diagnosed with arthritis. I'm certain I have it. And there are things
we
that
all
I
have
do.
a degree of it for sure. The question is the intensity.
Yeah.
I mean, I already have stuff. I've got issues already just because of athleticism, but we all definitely have it. There's no question about that.
So, you know, I'm really fanatical about taking vitamins and minerals. And I can tell when my diet is off track, when I haven't done. I typically fix fish twice a week.
Good for
Now I
you.
am a carnivore. I do beef, do pork, do chicken.
But not
So
potato chips, because then your husband will be all upset.
that's right. Well, so I try to balance. If I've had a heavy meal one night, then we have fish the next night.
Yeah.
And do things that way, because one of the things that we both have to fight with age is weight. And it's a constant battle. The other thing that I've learned to do drastically, this is something that hit me after the pregnancies with the girls. I had never thought about or heard of a bladder or kidney infection. Well, apparently the pregnancies created some of that. And for years, when I traveled, I took prescription medication with me. I finally learned that if I drank a minimum of 6 8-ounce glasses of water a day, I'm fine. I try for 8. And then when I'm going to travel, the day before I travel, I try to super hydrate with 8 to 12, because I know that I'll have very little water the next day. Right. So these little things I've learned through time to help make sure that I don't have an issue that I don't want anymore.
That's great. That's fantastic. Well, and I think it's really about, you know, taking the ego out so that we don't have to get butthurt about some of the changes we might have to implement, and just identifying where you're not okay or where something needs some modification. You know, it's like, you know, I'm usually pretty well, you know, I still have my athleticism within me. It's not as strong as it used to be. I'm already noticed within the last year, I've lost a significant amount of strength. Most people would say that's not true because they've witnessed what I pick up. But for me, and what, you know, I used to have a certain amount of energy behind what was there, and now I'm feeling like the energy behind that strength isn't there, and now it's like, oh, I can pick that up, and I don't know how long this is gonna last. Like, so where before I could be like, oh, sure, we got this, is no problem, where now I'm like, do I have to help? I'm an old lady now, where's the young people? Like, so, you know, or it would be something where, you know, something dumb where it was like, you know, if a picture fell on the wall and you just needed to temporarily put it up, but you didn't want to walk all the way downstairs to grab the bench and bring it all the way back up and then put the step stool and then have to carry it back. So then you just grab a random chair, and it didn't matter if it was a spinny chair, but you can balance it, was fine. And then you could still hang it up. I will not do that. Like that's
smart lady.
Right. And so like, and I've, you know, and there's some clients where they're still, you know, cleaning gutters out. And I'm like, hey, you know what? It might be time to have that be a hiring out job. There's just different things where, there are some people where they really want to focus on, they don't, they want to stay young. They want to stay in that, I don't want an injury to where I have to rehabilitate it. And then I'm stuck having to deal with a gimp leg the rest of my life. Like, that's just not. And it took one time dancing with my daughter at the end of Tangled, where Mandy Moore is singing, like, I want what I want. And we were just dancing, and I was doing, a double axel on the hardwood floor, where you pretend where you're just spinning and doing circles. And I did the little, double axel, and then went into a nice little pose, and then boom, boom, my femur partially dislocated from my hip. And I already have a very fantastic core system, to which, how the heck did that happen? And it happened just complete random. It must have been just misstepping where I was. I have no idea. But I was probably, I think I was probably around 30, 32. And that happened. And immediately I felt the pain in my hip. And then I tried to put weight on my leg and could not. And then I looked at my daughter, because she's spinning in circles having fun, and I don't want her to get worried that mommy went down. And so then I just like kind of hobbled over to the door to the basement where the laundry room is. And she's like, Mom, where are you going? Oh, I gotta go check the laundry. I'll be right back. Like, so then I just closed the door, and then I was like, holy crap, how the hell am I gonna get out of this room? Oh. And then it was okay. I had to bear weight on it. And thankfully I worked for a chiropractor. So I went to work the next day. He put it back in. And then I had to baby that leg for about 3 to 6 weeks. And because I do what I do for a living, I was able to make the modifications, but most people would not know what to do. I knew how to rehabilitate it. I also knew what to do on a therapeutic level with, proper icing, proper heat, like when to bring those introductions in on top of what muscle work to target. But it was a really big ego check right off the gate of, hey, you are not 20. You can't just flander about anywhere you want to. You need to be mindful of what's to happen, because sometimes we don't think about what the aftermath is and how long that recuperation is, or what that would look like, especially when you're looking at our elderly that are, breaking hips or getting knee replacements, or, you're having a lot of spinal surgeries these days. And once that spine gets fused, it leads to another fusion and another fusion and another fusion. And so it's like, if we can learn to do the preventative work, if we can do the self-care work now, we actually delay it later. So it's not as profound when it happens. And I usually try to encourage a lot of people that I know that if you're getting a shoulder surgery, if you're getting a knee surgery, hip surgery, whatnot, just know for a fact that once you go into that surgery, within 8 to 12 years, there's going to be a reboot. Like, there's going to be a redo of that surgery to either replace parts, do the other side. There's like, have to resculpt. There might be bone spur. Like, there's all kinds of things that can happen. So the question is, like, when is it that you actually want to go in and deal with surgery? Like, what ages do you want to do that? Do I want to work on my rehabilitation and my strength in my 50s so that then, okay, I can push surgery back so that I'm not having to do it later in life? Like, it's trying to plan for those types of things so that you know what's coming, because we don't know what is to come. Life is not, well, God knows, but we don't. He didn't share the blueprints with us. So it's just like, kind of, let's choose a life of having opportunity with the miracles around us, and just embrace who we are and learn about ourselves, because it makes life way more enjoyable when we do that.
You are so right, Abby. And
You're so cute.
I have spent 5 years recovering from a fractured femur and went through 18 months of physical therapy. So I'm going back in for a recheck in December just to see where everything is, see how things are doing. So I can.
How did it happen?
I was getting ready to do a virtual mastermind group. My husband was taking one of the cars to be repaired. I raced out into the garage to try to ask him a technical question before he left. I didn't know he didn't know that we have one of the polished floors. There was
Yeah.
water on it. I hit it and down I went. And didn't know until about a year ago that I also had a shoulder issue, which showed up because I hadn't fallen, nothing else had happened. So now I
Wow.
have been in physical therapy for a year for my shoulder.
Yeah. Well, and it's a pain when they come up, but at the same time, like think about it. It was the rushing to go jump, like to go grab him. It's those types of things where, there's always like I find myself where when I'm about to rush and then all of a sudden I could feel that energy of chaos or like chaotic uncertainty. I usually press pause and go, okay, hold on, let's reset. Let's reevaluate. Okay, is there an alternative way for me to be able to reach out to him or to follow up? But but it's also think about, years ago, we didn't have like a phone necessarily all the time that we could call. Remember the good old days when people went to work and you just saw them when they got home for dinner? We had a lot more to talk about. So, I mean, that's why you sat at a table. You sat at a table to hear everybody's day so that you can still like each other. But it's one of those things. And we didn't have some of those things back in the day. My favorite thing is introducing some of the old way of doing things that like kids today don't even know what they are. Like
a real telephone?
Yes, like a real telephone or even like a cassette player, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a cassette player, an 8-track, a floppy disk. Like how a floppy disk works. Like if you could grab an old computer and give them a floppy disk and be like, here you go, put this on. How fun would that be just to have that? I mean, my daughter the other day, we ended up having to put our purses into a locker where it didn't have the dial lock. It had a key lock, but you still had to open it up. You had to, the locker open and then you had to close it, make sure it was aligned to put the hook into the hole. And she was so like, how do you do this? And so it was an adventure, but then the funniest part was it was the lock, the key lock. We have codes where you punch in a pad, it unlocks the door for you. They're not using keys. So a lot of these teenagers do not know how to use a keyhole at all. And so it did occur to me. I even said to my son the other day after his sister got her driver's license, one of the things I pointed out is I said, you might be one of like the last generations that learns how to drive a car, like physically, because they're starting to come out with cars that drive themselves now. And if that's going to, if they've done that now in 10 years, that could become a commonality. And in 15 fully taken over, where, like now I'm thinking, okay, we actually might have to teach grandchildren how to drive because they may not actually know. And we might, stick shifts. Like, like we're going to have to start saving some money so we can buy the cars that actually have stick shifts so we can actually make them functional. We can have some fun. So that's really, let's go sloshing through the mud and like do some spinny wheels. I'm just saying. Oh, wait, my body's old. I can't do that. I'll just coach them from a headset. It'll be fine. Well, Miss Georgia, thank you so much for being on the Kapitol Life today, where we talk about all the things. And we clearly talked about a bunch of fun things. And you were just such a great spirit to this world. I loved having you on. Can you please share with us, like, how can people find you?
Be happy to do that. Go out to LinkedIn, www.linkedin.com/in/Georgia R. Day.
Awesome. Very cool.
Okay. If you went out to the website, it directs you immediately to my LinkedIn page.
Fantastic. That's perfect. Now I always ask everybody that's on the show kind of like quotes to live by or what they live by. And I really liked what you had to say. You said, I value love, integrity, loyalty, appreciation, and gratitude. I love the fact that you put appreciation and gratitude in there separately, because a lot of people misconstrued and don't really realize that they're not exactly the same thing. And I love that you added in there. Is there any words to live by or messages for my listeners that you would like to leave them with today?
Absolutely. Les Brown, who is one of the world's most renowned motivational speakers, says, align yourself with people that you can learn from, people who want more out of life, people who are stretching and searching and seeking some higher ground in life.
That's beautiful. I love that. That's a good one. Well, thank you, Miss Georgia. And I can't wait to just see how you do all the fun things and how we grow together as friends over the years, because you're always a trip. You're just having a great time hanging out with. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much, Abby.
Yeah, and love to
Love
the family.
being here. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for joining me today on the Kapitol Life, where we talk about all the things. Join me next time as we focus on off the ground.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and Facebook at Kapitol Health. That's Kapitol Health. Please share with your friends and family. The Kapitol Life is available on all podcasting platforms except Pandora. Our goal at the Kapitol Life is to provide a safe place to get information when it comes to your health and wellness, especially when dealing with all of life's phases. Remember to take care of yourself, because you're somebody's everything.